forward to get exposure about what the best of brains can do about this very dynamic issue of sustainable human development. Today, I am highly privileged to invite the session chair of this pre-conference talk, Dr. Kiran Kumar Swami. Swami sir has completed his MSc, MPhil, MTech, PhD in structural magnetics and transport mechanics, magnetites and multiferroids from ITM University, Gurgaon. He is presently working as Dean and Associate Professor at ISBM University. His main research interests lie in the field of solid state mechanism at low temperatures, undertaken detailed study of the structural magnetism, electrical, optical, and transport in the A-side doped charged ordered and half-doped nano-bulk magnetite. He has many journal papers in international and national. He is having 3 book chapters and 1 scientific patent, and he is attending many international conferences and having many proceedings in that. So I invite Dr. Swami sir to kindly introduce a pre-conference talk session. Swami sir, please.
Thank you, madam. So it is my privilege to introduce our first speaker in this third international conference on recent trends in renewable energy. Hello, is it audible? It is coming. Is it audible? Yeah. So it is my privilege to introduce our first speaker in this third international conference on recent trends in renewable energy and sustainable development, which is organized. And the topic of his research is anhydrous sugars and sugar alcohols as pressure of biomass burning in size segregated aerosols. He also received, he was a gold medalist in 2009 from School of Studies Chemistry, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University. And sir has various academic experience. Is it audible? Yeah. Huh. So I was introducing Dr. Jain Nirmalkar as his academic experience. He worked 19 to 22 in Korea Research Institute of Standard Science, and he worked in various places like IISER Bhopal, and he served as a PDF fellow at IISER Bhopal, and he also worked in several institutions teaching faculty in Raipur Institute of Technology, MATS University, Raipur, and he has industrial experience in Ultratech Cement. He, so that means he has both research of area, means both exposure, academic as well as industry. So it is my pleasure to introduce Jayant Nirmalkar for this valuable lecture in this conference. Sir, please start your lecture. I am very happy to see you after a long time. So please start.
Yes, sir. So, good morning, Swami sir, and really, I'm happy to see you again. Swami sir is my senior uh, when I was in RIT. So, it's a very long time I saw you, and really, I'm happy to see you again. And good
Jayan
morning to
sir,
everyone.
good morning.
Good morning, Vikas sir. He is also my senior colleague in RIT.
Sir, your
Yes, sir. Is
please
it
on
audible?
your mic, sir. Jayan sir, please.
No, it is audible, sir. It is audible. Jain sir, please start.
Okay. So, let's start a work which is conducted over in National Park of Bhopal. So the topic is PM2.5 bound trace element concentration. Its transport characteristics, health risk over Central Indian National Park.
मैडम
So let's start with the
दूसरा
aerosol.
उसको ज्वाइन रखना कर वो ना मैं उसी प्लीज सर प्लीज सॉरी फॉर
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So aerosol is a suspension of liquid and solid particles in the gas, and with a diameter of 10 to the power minus 9 to 10 to the minus 4 micrometer. And aerosol is really a big concern for global, not only for the India but for the global world, because the air pollution is increasing day by day. So we have to understand the what are their like sources, what are their formation mechanism, and what are the possible health impacts. So that's why uh, I'm just concerning on one part, that is a particulate matter along with the trace elements. So it can be categorized based on the various parameters like size. So they can say as like PM10, which is which have the diameter of 10 micrometer, PM2.5, which have a diameter of 2.5 micrometer, and there's a coarse particle which have a diameter of 2.5 micrometer to 10 micrometer. So these particles are really concerned because we can inhale this particle inside our body. So that's why we are more concerning on PM10, 2.5, and this coarse particle. And if you're talking about the sources, so they have a natural sources, anthropogenic sources also. And based on the formation mechanism, they can categorize into two parts. First is a primary aerosol and second is a secondary aerosol. So primary aerosol means which can directly emitted from the sources, like when anything combusts, they emit particles. So that particles are known as primary aerosols because they are directly emitted from the sources. And along with the fossil fuel combustion, volcanic eruption, wind-driven, and traffic-related suspension. So these are all particles are primary because they directly emitted from the sources. If you talk about the secondary sources, so they are transformed when pollen particle emitted into the atmosphere. Because of the chemical reaction, they change into their chemical property, their size property. So these particles are known as secondary aerosol. So we can see the primary aerosol when released in the atmosphere by the temperature, relative humidity, sunlight, chemical species, and other reactant in the atmosphere. They react together and form secondary aerosol. And these are little bit complex structure as compared to primary. So this topic is specifically concerned on aerosol composition, transport, dry deposition, and potential health risk. So as we understand, PM2.5, the particle is less than 2.5 micrometer. So it's a very tiny particle which can easily inhale in our body. And they have very reactive particle. That's why they can impact human health, climate, and visibility as well. And if you talk about their sources, so they have basically two sources, industrial and human activities. So many industrial sources and many human activities like biomass burning, combustion activity, they can emit these PM2.5 mass into the atmosphere. And these PM2.5 mass have a really huge concentration of these trace elements like magnesium, silicon, aluminum, and also some toxic elements like chromium, nickel, arsenic, cadmium, and lead. So that's why it is important to understand the chemical properties and their sources. So yeah, this PM2.5 can be also contributed from local sources as well as transport. So local sources means, let's say, if we consider the Bhopal, so whatever source is present in the Bhopal, they are considered as the local sources. And if we talk about the transport, so sometime this PM2.5 or this trace element can be come from far distance, like other part of India or outside India also. So that is a transported aerosol. So dry deposition is also an important parameters. So where this aerosol can suspend into the surface. So that's why we are also concerned here. And the last one is implications, like how what is the potential chance to go these trace elements and PM2.5 in our body through inhalation, dermal contact, and ingestion. So these are the keywords. So, if we talk about the anthropogenic sources like industrial emission, coal burning, biomass burning, and vehicle emission, they can emit these PM trace elements, which is bounded with the PM 2.5. So, if you want to control the air quality and health effectivity, because for these particular elements, so we have to understand what are their characteristics, what are their sources, and what are the potential health risks. So, it all help us to control the air quality, and particularly for the the reduce the pollution, reduce these trace elements from the atmosphere. So purpose of this study is, first of all, we are going to measure, we measured PM 2.5 and identify their temporal variation like seasonal variation and day-night variation. Long-range transport pattern, we also investigate using backward trajectories and cluster analysis. And we have calculated the potential health risk based on the trace elements concentration, and also determine what is the dry deposition flux of these trace elements. So these are the keywords which can help us to understand the characteristic of PM 2.5 bound trace elements, as well as their sources and other activities. So this is the flow work. So first of all, site selection is important, like where we have, from where we can collect the sample, because we need to identify the place. It should be open, and it should be sufficiently in the elevated area, so that it cannot disturb by.
कैमरा दिखाना है रिकॉर्डिंग ठीक है और बस फोकस करके यहाँ पे लगेगा अच्छा स्क्रीनशॉट लेके हाँ उसी पे प्रिंट स्क्रीन वाला वहाँ पे लास्ट